You're friends with Dan Bilzerian, right?
Yes,
I'm sure you have some crazy Dan Bilzerian stories,
bro.
right?
I have a ton of them. He just texted me this morning. We were gonna play paintball on Sunday, but I won't be there. Uh, Dan is one of the most generous dudes I've ever met. I know some of the stuff he says right now is very controversial. I've known Dan for gosh, 12 years, 13 years, something like that. He is deceptively intelligent. Like people don't understand. Like that is actually the reason why he was able to do so much of. Basically, he saw market inefficiency when it came to social media, and he totally exploited it. And he did so. Dan told me this one time on the phone. He goes, I played the video game of Instagram and I beat the final boss.
Well, his dad, right, was like a very successful hedge
Yeah.
fund manager or something like
No,
that.
his dad was a criminal. It was a pump and dump criminal. And
Okay.
dad doesn't like me saying this because Dan calls his dad a criminal. His dad was a noted, a very accomplished human being. Right, he was a Green Beret, fought in Vietnam. He graduated from Stanford and Harvard, but he was also sort of the pump and dump king of the 1980s and went to jail for it. And it was embarrassing to Dan. And I'm not saying anything that's out of turn here. Ignite, Dan's former company, Dan still owns stock in it, but he's not on the board anymore. Dan let his dad into the company, and his dad did some apparently allegedly shady shit because now they're being investigated by the SEC. But you'll notice with the SEC complaint against Ignite, Dan Bilzerian is not named in that complaint because Dan was not at the helm when that whole thing happened. Dan has made some extremely controversial comments about Israel recently that have gotten him into a lot of trouble, and it also made him very popular with certain segments of the population. And he and I discuss those things privately sometimes. I'm gonna tell you I don't agree with all the things that he says, but he's been like a brother to me, so I'm definitely not gonna sell him out, even though several people have told me to. I'm like, nah, he's been really good for me. He's been really good to me, and he's helped me out with my business a lot. And he has a very, I should probably say the best way to explain Dan, he has a way of seeing the world and making extremely complicated things very simple and coming up with solutions for those things. And I know it doesn't seem like that when you listen to him talk, but it really is. He does have simple solutions for certain ideas. And it's really impressive when you listen to him. But he also is kind of like, he's made a ton of money and he just doesn't give a shit. He's getting money, so he's saying stuff on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell Dan all the time, I'm like, no, bro, I would never say this because like I like making money. It's crazy, So that's kind of where we are. But yeah, I just talked to him this morning about playing paintball. On Sundays we play paintball every week at his house.
Didn't he originally make a good chunk of his money like in like poker?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. There's a bunch of controversy around this. Let me end the controversy right now. I've seen the Wire transcript. I've seen the wires, and I've literally seen the text messages between he and Alec Gores. He did indeed win $44 million off of Alec Gores, the SPAC king. And he did indeed win at least $10 million off Sam Majid. I have seen the Wire transfers. There's several poker players that will attest to this. People are like, no, he got his money from his dad. I don't know. Maybe he did get money from his dad, but I haven't seen it, number one. And number two, Dan is the type of person who has admitted to losing his virginity to a whore in Tijuana. He's admitted to smuggling steroids across the border. He's admitted to having people videotape him while he was masturbating when he was a kid. And you're telling me Dan is too embarrassed to admit that he got money from a hedge fund? He has not. I don't believe that shit whatsoever. That's number one. And then number two, I know for a fact he's won at least $50 million from playing poker. For a fact. And I will put that up against, there's so much proof that he's done that, that he's documented. And I remember, who's that? Doug Polk made this really critical video of Dan, and then Dan did a live stream with Doug, and Dan proceeded to feed this dude his liver, like destroyed his argument. And then at the end, Doug had to admit, it's like, okay, yeah, you're probably telling the truth. Dan has never said he's the greatest poker player in the world. What he said is he was better than anyone else in the world at getting bad people to lose money to him. Bad poker players, people who thought they were good poker players to lose money to him. So yeah, that's yeah, it's real interesting stuff. But again, like his viewpoint on the world, you'll see like there'll be a complicated problem and he has simple solutions for it. It's really interesting, which is what he did with when it came to being famous, being on social media, and dealing with really, really attractive women. And so that's there's so much that he's done that could be studied that I think is going to get thrown by the wayside because of some of the controversial things that he said. And I think that's kind of sad. Like Dan came up with there's Dan the philosopher, and then there's Dan my friend. Dan the philosopher has these incredible ideas when it comes to like pre-selection and like attracting women, and they're correct. Like I can tell you emphatically all of them are correct. And then there's Dan, my friend, which is very different, situation. Just really, really generous guy, and just gives, it's just been a cool. We have some group chats where we say some horrible shit to each other too, but yeah, it's just been a really interesting change. And I've seen him before when it really was all about the clubs and the girls, and now it's not about that at all.